But we're going to cover the topics of managing your business financially, operationally, strategically, kind of in terms of marketing strategy and other strategy, and then also emotionally for you as a founder. So a little bit of a quick background if you're not already familiar with me or the EDC. The EDC is the Entrepreneurial Development Center. We're a nonprofit business accelerator that's been in place for 16 years, serving the corridor. We're funded by public and private funds that fund our team, which is a cross-functional team of 6 members to provide our mission, and our funds go to providing support for Iowa-based businesses that are doing or planning to do business beyond the state, so interstate commerce, and are scalable past 10 million in revenue. So that's our mission focus, and we are just here to help them grow and scale. So that's the EDC, and then I'm going to ask Scott to introduce yourself.
Well, good morning. I wish it was more joyful circumstances that are bringing us together, like the launch of a new business, but it is what it is. So Scott Swinson, I'm the director of the Kirkwood Small Business Development Center. We also have Paul Heath in Iowa City, who's the director of the University of Iowa SBDC. And the majority of our work is working with existing small businesses to help them grow and helping entrepreneurs help launch their business. It's an active group. I had some prior experience with disaster recovery, working for the Cedar Rapids Chamber of Commerce on flood recovery following the floods of 2008. In fact, Julie and I and the rest of the EDC worked together along with the Economic Alliance and other organizations really to do what we could to help champion the recovery efforts. And there's an awful lot we learned from that experience that I think is going to emerge again as we go through this one here.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. I guess, Jay, one thing I want to note, Jay, is if you're getting comments into the Facebook Live, if you can, that we need to address, if you could share those with us on Zoom, that would be helpful. Anything that's in particular important. So before we begin, I would like if the participants could let us know what type of business they are. So are you existing, or what phase, I guess? Are you pre-revenue startup, or are you in revenue with employees? I kind of think it would be helpful to see what stage of business we have. And then also, if you would share, if you have any particular questions or concerns that you want us to address today, please share those as well. So so we'll wait to see what we get coming in from that. And then I guess what I want to talk about is kind of the short term. Let's start with short term navigation of this situation. And your business can't grow if it doesn't survive, and that's not meant to be dire. Some businesses will get through this without a problem. Others might be in kind of a short-term survival mode. So I think the first thing to do is, what do you need to do to protect the business? So we're going to talk about that. What you need to do to keep the ability to serve customers in place if you have customers right now. Keeping workers with the ability to serve the customers. So let's just talk about that right now. Scott, do you have any input on that, or do we have any questions from the audience on that?
Yeah, I think I've had a lot of conversations, especially the last couple of days, and for a lot of people, there's a mix of both a piece of the business that can keep going and a piece of the business maybe that needs to get put on pause or was severely affected. So obviously the first thought is, how do we keep serving customers the best we can? In some cases, that's going to mean innovating the way we do our things. I was out a little bit yesterday and just impressed by the number of curbside operations that we're seeing as response to the way people normally eat. You know, if they can do the curbside and delivery things, those are the ones that were most immediate. But I'm also now seeing things like retailers offering private shopping experiences where the store may be closed, but they'll open it up for an appointment to give somebody a half-hour personal experience. We're seeing the grocery stores with senior-only shopping period.
Hey, Scott.
Yep.
Scott, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Apparently people are having difficulty hearing you. Could you try maybe turning your mic up a little bit, see if that helps? Or your volume?
Closer, does that help?
Is that helping everyone?
So I suppose I got to talk here in order for him to figure out if it's working or not.
Keep going, Scott. Thanks.
Right.
Oh, not enough. It says it's not helping enough. So let's see here.
You want to take over and I'll switch over to my phone. I think that might be better.
Okay, you bet. So Scott was talking about, really, the question is everyone is changing. Everything is different. Our customers, whether they're business customers or consumers, are experiencing a completely new situation in how they're managing their business or their consumer lives. And so thinking right now about, can you continue to serve people who have the demand for the existing products is top priority, but then also, how are the changes, thinking through immediately, what are the differences in the immediate needs of your customers or consumers? And working with entrepreneurs, we're finding that in some cases, as they think through that, we would encourage you all to whiteboard that. And as they think through that, they're finding that in some cases, their customers' current concerns are different than what they have been addressing, but they have the ability to serve those current concerns if they just tweak the products or services or just tweak the messaging. So really in the short term, figuring out how do you serve existing, whoa, Scott, you there? Okay, we can't hear you, Scott. Let's see. It looks like you're mute. Scott, there you go. Scott, why don't you speak and see if we can hear you?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Let's see how everyone else.
Hey, Julie and Scott, would you mind if people join the Zoom directly? We can share the URL if that would help.
I think we should do that.
All right, I'll do that, and we will see some people pop right in.
Okay, so while we're waiting for that, can you all hear me? At least I can keep going. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. You tell me if you guys have something's wrong and you can't hear me. Okay. I would definitely recommend people whiteboard how their customers, how they can respond to their customers' current. That's an immediate thing that you can do. But you also have to make sure that you can serve your customers. I'm not sure if people are dealing with remote employees at this point. I'm not sure the audience that we've got here. Let me just put that question out. Is anyone having challenges with remote employees at this point? Okay. All right, so let's go to the next topic. If we get comments from participants, we can swing back on that first one. But let's talk about managing financially through this, because some business will see, significant drops in demand. We could be seeing, an 80% drop in demand. Some might see 30. It's just going to be all over the map. So one thing that we're working with our EDC members on right now is projecting out your cash flow. That's the really critical first step. Project out your cash flow, not just for 3 months, but for 6 to 12 months, by month, and be very proactive about that so that you can manage through kind of not just a best case scenario or worst case scenario, and proactively determine what you might need to do to get funding in place or cut expenses, which might, you might need to do both of those. So 12-month projection. If you do not have that, I would recommend getting with a friendly accountant or someone who can help you with that. The EDC can help clients with that, and I'm sure the SBDC as well. Scott, do you have any input on this topic?
Yeah, excuse me, for sure. And, in addition to the financial projections, right now it's like a critical period for making those immediate adjustments that you need to make. I know nobody likes to do it, but if it's time for a layoff, if it's time to close the business on a temporary basis, the sooner that's done, the more cash that you're saving for later on and when you're really going to need it, which is when the business starts rebounding. So right now, there's some emotional things that a business owner is going to go through, and it's not fun stuff. I know it's keeping people up at night, and we empathize with you on those type of decisions that you're going through. But know that serving your business, your customers, and your employees is really the focus here. And intuitively, you'll know what you need to do to make those adjustments.
Great. Can someone let me know if people heard Scott on that?
Hey, Julie. So it looked like the Facebook Live got interrupted, but I'm recording this so that we can put it up later on.
Okay.
And I also shared the Zoom link so people can pop in if they would like, because of the fact that there was some issues with the feed and all of that stuff. So that's the current status.
Okay. Can you hear Scott?
I can, yes.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that I want to just tag on to what Scott is saying, the difficult decision to cut expenses as needed before, to keep the business afloat is important. And we always say, protecting the business is more important than protecting any one employee's job, because keeping the business afloat provides jobs for the whole company long term and all the employees long term. You can also, one of the things, if you have a physical product that you're inventorying, doing things to move some of that product, be aggressive about not ordering inventory or moving inventory, getting through it can free up some cash. So that's another option for you. Any discretionary variable spend at this point that's not critical in serving the customers today is something that you might want to consider pausing or cutting as needed. All right, and then let's talk about, as we're talking about managing financials, one of the things we'd say is, do that cash flow projection for yourself, and then meet proactively with your banker. If you have a banker, presumably, meet with them, meet with investors if you have them. The sooner you do that, the better, the more proactive you are with your banker. the more likely it'll be that your banker will be able to help you. And so get that going. Scott, I'm wondering if you can talk. We've both seen, Scott and I talked yesterday. We both organizations and have experience with some of these debt programs that come out by the government and get announced. And right now there's still a lot of flux. But Scott, I'm hoping that you can talk about. Let's get that conversation going about some of these programs that may be on their way, and what do they add a value to an entrepreneur in your mind?
Yeah, right. So let's start with the ones that are most positive and most immediate. The one that was announced yesterday about unemployment charges. If you're an employer and if you have any layoffs, your unemployment account will not be charged back by the state. So the employee's getting the benefit of the unemployment benefits. You're able to continue providing them with an income stream, but at the same time, your business isn't getting charged back for that. You've already paid into it. No new accumulations are happening there. So that one's a positive one. Mm-hmm. One I think that's probably caught the most press is these SBA disaster loans. And we've had quite a bit of experience with those. If you think about the purpose of a business loan, it's usually to help the business grow in some fashion. You're investing in plant, you're investing in equipment, you're hiring employees, you're buying inventory, you're doing something that's going to help the business profit. When you're taking a disaster loan, that's just to keep things going. It's not adding any improvement. You're not getting any additional cash flow. In fact, you're getting negative cash flow because now you have to start paying something back. So we recommend that a disaster loan can be a resource, but a resource of last resort. You really want to exhaust everything else first because that loan's going to be around for a long time.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that, Scott. And taking one of those loans could actually put you in a situation where you're you're unable to pay it, and then compromising the business down the road. So, it's one thing to look at is if you believe that demand for your products or services is going to be there after this recovery in enough of a way that you can manage through the short term, and you need additional funds to do that, but you may not have the margins in place for your business to manage too much debt, then certainly going back to investors or seeking new investors might be a better alternative at this point. Certainly if you have existing investors, they may be ready, depending on the type of investor you have, they may be ready and understanding that this isn't exactly the time where they can provide additional capital to support the business. In conversations that the EDC has been having with some larger investors in the last couple of days, it appears that that anecdotally, at least, they're believing they're still fairly bullish on the market, which is a good sign. And deals that are in play are continuing to move forward, which is a great sign. That's more on the equity investment side of the more sophisticated investor, larger, more sophisticated investors. I'm not exactly sure how the angel investment community is going to respond to this. They may also remain fairly bullish, or they may be pulling back. Just not sure about that. Scott, have you heard anything on that?
Well, going back to your point, first talk to your current relationship with your current bank, with your investors. That's really where your first source of funding and opportunity is going to be, because you've already got that relationship. I just found this out yesterday, but if banks have issued an SBA loan, they can have some flexibility with the repayment period for up to 6 months. So there might be some opportunity on that. The thing between, we hear about the SBA loans all the time. They're really common in business. We use them to get our businesses started and growing and so forth. Those are typically SBA guaranteed loans where the bank has made the loan and the SBA is guaranteeing it. With a disaster loan, it's different. Now the federal government's making the loan. So it's different terms. There's way less flexibility than you would have with a banker. You don't have a face-to-face relationship. So always turn first to that current relationship and work what you can through those relationships.
And I would say that, this situation we're in, it's an economic, it's a significant economic, immediate downturn, but it's different than a large recession in that, when there's kind of a predictable time frame in which this pandemic will be kind of through it and we'll be getting back up and running. And whether that's 2 months or 4 months, whether that's May or July or August is kind of unknown. But based on that, the economy was very strong going into it. There may be, it sounds like some of the investors are anticipating kind of a stronger rebound. So it's possible that, this is something just to very significant spike, but could be just shorter term. But it kind of leads us to the next topic, which is preparing for growth kind of post-pandemic. Again, whether we're talking 2 months or once you get through the next 2 months, 4 months, whatever it is, how really preparing for how your customers are going to be different. So we can think of this on the consumer side. We're all starting to do things in our lives that we may have not done before because this situation required it. So I did my first online yoga class, for example. And so if we think about our consumer lives and shift towards, increasing e-commerce, for example, I think Amazon announced they're hiring 100,000 workers. So our behavior as consumers is going to be different coming out of this. Necessity, is the mother of invention. Our lives as business customers will be different. So if we think about the 9/11, post 9/11, businesses all of a sudden coming out of that really put time and attention into their disaster recovery plans, and they really focused on putting those in place. So if we think about this for businesses are going to come out of this saying, oh my goodness, we need to have post-pandemic, we need to have pandemic disaster plans in place. Well, how does that affect potential demand for your products or services? So how do these changes in consumers, what are their characteristics, how their characteristics can be different, how their needs can be different, and we'd really encourage you to whiteboard that. Take some time to whiteboard that, and then determine what is your unique offering as a business. And based on that unique offering, what you do that's unique, what you provide that's very unique, in this new anticipated world that will be different coming out of this, who will value that you maybe haven't thought of? So it's really a rescoping of an assessment of the market to figure out, are there new opportunities in how you can serve or who you can serve that maybe you haven't been serving up until this point. Scott, any thoughts on that kind of planning for post-economic downturn?
Yeah, as you were saying all that, I was thinking back to the flood experience and recalling all the businesses that had 5-year strategic growth plans. And really the flood was an opportunity for them to accelerate those plans.
Mm-hmm.
We have a different type of event happening here where there's not a physical damage that needs to be reconstructed. But I like that idea of thinking ahead, how the market's going to be different. Maybe you picked up some new capabilities as a result of the necessity here. I know some retailers that are into e-commerce that weren't in e-commerce last week. You know, that things like that may be permanent improvements to the business model, and to, you know, to try and look ahead with an eye toward growth again, not just managing things through the crisis, but how do I thrive when I come out of this?
Yeah, love it, love it. And yeah, I'm getting a suggestion here for, there's some collaborative groups that are helping each other figure out ways to do things online together. So we have to, this is just a rapid, unanticipated change in our markets, you know, everything about the markets. And I think entrepreneurs of all people are well positioned to adapt, see opportunities, identify those opportunities, and adapt. So now's the time to do that. I want to talk on one more topic, and then we're going to open up for questions and respond. But the last topic I want to talk about is really managing your well-being as a founder. And we always say, like, being a founder means that you're going to be sleeping in the fetal position at night. If that happens to you, you're a founder. And if there's any time that this might cause that, it's now. So, Scott, I'd like to ask you, you brought this up when we were talking yesterday, which I think is a really important topic. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on this?
Well, it is an emotional time. And you know, what I learned from experiences like this is, as a business owner, I'm thinking about people other than myself first. I'm thinking first about my employees and the well-being of them, and you know, how they're going to cope and provide for their families. I'm also thinking about my customers and what kind of disruptions they may be going through. And you know, the fear of losing customers is a huge thing going through everybody's mind. So in addition to any economic things going on, this is a big emotional dilemma that business owners are going through. And they're trying to make business decisions while they're going through an emotional wringer. And to me, that's like an opportunity for us to come together, to be supportive, you know, to offer up some private conversations so that people can talk through the issues that they're going through, both financially and business and on the personal side. Yeah, it's a time to acknowledge that as well.
I'm getting a question here. Tips for freelancers right now. We have a lot of freelancers at Merge and are unsure what we can do to help. Yeah, I think I would just be encouraging everyone, including the freelancers. It must be very unnerving because as a freelancer, if companies are cutting expenses, you might think that that could be a first place they might cut. I would really encourage everyone to just simply think, based on how consumers' lives are changing, whiteboard out consumers, people like yourself, people unlike yourself. You know, I'm in my 50s and don't have kids at home. How is my life different? But how are the lives of people with kids at home different? You know, go through this, really think through that, and then try to figure out whose business is seeing unprecedented demand right now. It may not be the clients you are currently serving, but whose business would be going up? You know, think about it. Okay, anyone who's doing remote online learning, their business is going to be going up. Anyone in the healthcare sector, anyone in, you know, supplies to healthcare, planning. So I would really whiteboard what are those industries, those types of companies that are seeing a positive upturn in demand, or we'll be seeing it for sure coming out of this, and we'll be planning for it right now and thinking about how you as a freelancer can provide value to them. So it may be shifting. This is not a situation where all sectors are going to be down. This is a situation where some are way up and some are down. So thinking through that. Scott, any thoughts about advice for freelancers?
Well, yeah, a lot of the freelancers are going to be connected to different marketing activities. And marketing is going to be a huge need with businesses coming out of the recovery. So to the extent that you can be working ahead with those clients, keep their current customers engaged in things like what they've done to shift their business operations and just keeping the community informed. But the other thing is, as freelancers, we tend to work on our own business last. So there may be things about our own marketing materials, our website, the way we engage with customers. Maybe we need to update contracts, but all those things that we push off might be an opportunity to get caught up on that stuff. And again, take advantage of the climate when it's right and be ready to thrive when things come back.
And I would add on the freelancer side, I don't know how things are going to be affected yet. If your client's business, I was just talking to an agency yesterday, a client business, they were checking with all their clients and they were staying and things were steady. But if you start to have clients that are feeling like they have to cut contracts with you, one thing that I would consider is getting really flexible about your arrangements for payment as much as you can. So for example, as Scott's saying, what they really need is, a business right now needs to figure out how to keep sales going, right? That's their biggest objective. Can they keep sales going? How do they keep sales going? Well, they keep current customers, but they can also reach out to find new customers. So one thing you can do is think about ways to reduce your upfront charges to those customers if you are financially able to do that, and put in place some terms where you take a percentage of the sales that come in. So if you're a marketer and you think you can help drive sales, is there a way to reduce your project or hourly fees and shift some of that in a percentage or a commission of sales that might make you more attractive right now to a client? That's an option. Okay, so I'd really like to see if anybody has any questions or concerns specific that we can address. Oh, for people, here's one that's coming in. For people who haven't traditionally done online sales, tips for switching sales online. One of the things I would say is that this would be a good, there are the online platforms that are out there. So if you have a physical product, the online platforms, let's just take Shopify, are pretty easy to use and get set up. So, relatively easy. So I would just, suggest doing a little research on those platforms and just start getting it going. If you feel like online sales are something that your customer would do based on your product. If you have a service, just give it a try based on the platform that you might consider. If you're doing like an example I was talking about, yoga, for example, anything that's normally in person, can you put that? You can use Zoom and give it a try. I think right now, everyone, customers, consumers, are very understanding that this is a difficult kind of uncertain time, and there's not really a roadmap, and people want to help, and that means they want to help businesses. And so people will be very understanding if things aren't done perfectly and the transition is not completely smooth. I think the important thing is if you believe your customers will buy online, reach out on social media, reach out on email, just over communicate with what you're doing. I saw a great email from a local retail business yesterday where they thought proactively about how they're going to interact with customers. Although they're shutting the store, they're putting some kits in place for home delivery. So just get creative. This is what entrepreneurs do really well. Understand your customers and get really creative with what you can do to help them right now. Scott, any thoughts there?
Well, I was just thinking too about some things just don't lend themselves real well to e-commerce. Use a gym membership, for example. Well, I'm seeing now where some gyms are putting programming out there online free. They've discontinued charging people's accounts and realizing that what they're trying to do is preserve those memberships for when they are able to have people back for a live experience. So trying to reacquire a customer that's dropped is much harder than just not dinging their account for a payment. So even thinking through some of those things to keep customer continuity going, as opposed to necessarily trying to preserve every bit of revenue that you might get too.
Yeah, and another suggestion here for launching gift card promos. That sounds like that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Are there kits? Are there delivery? So I love Scott's idea. If it makes sense to keep that customer free. Let's say I have been going to the yoga studio, and that's how I've gotten my yoga. And if my current yoga studio, which is Downward Dog right now, if they weren't offering if they weren't switching to offer streaming right now, I might be looking at other online yoga places and then end up not being a Downward Dog. So it was really smart of them to make this transition, even if it's not, even if the first time they do it, there are hiccups. We'll all understand this and we'll get through it, Any other questions or concerns? All right, so I feel like right now, the thing is, let's talk about resources, I guess. If you're, the EDC is here to help anyone. It's edcinc.org. Scott, people know Scott, but is there anything, Scott, you want to tell people about how to get a hold of you or your organization?
Sure, they can, so we've got 2 regular counselors, myself and Julie Lammers, and of course we're available to work with people. Paul Heath and his team in Iowa City are also available to work with people, both virtually and over the phone. But I've also got other outside counselors. I've lined up extra help for financial counseling. So if anybody's got any cash flow projecting that they need to do, I've got some subcontractors, some freelancers that I use for that type of thing. And they're all queued up and ready to go. So we want to help people with that decision making and that independent sounding board, so that they've got that removal from the emotional feelings that are going on here at the same time, but we'll help however we can. Connection to any of those resources that are available. So any of the SBA programs, any of the state programs, any funding type of programs, we would also be able to help with those things.
Yeah, and I would say, so, between Scott's organization, the SBDCs, and the EDC, that's what we're here to do. We're here to help Iowa-based businesses. And certainly, we're here at a time like that. We've got a lot of resources and members. So if someone in our direct organizations is not available, we know where to find the help for you. We can help on all aspects of the business. So whether it's rethinking strategically your market analysis and the opportunities, this financial funding, etc., we are here. So I think, Liz, is there anything else we should do today?
I think that's great. I don't see any other additional questions. Scott and Julie, thank you so much for taking the time today to help us with this conversation. And thanks to everyone for tuning in and being patient with us. Technology can be difficult to figure out, so we're working through it while we can. Scott and Julie, are you okay with me sharing your email addresses if people have additional questions or need connections?
Please do, please do. And,
Okay.
and the EDC, it's edcinc.org, and that has the contact information for our entire organization and all our team members as well.
Great, thank you. And then for everyone who's tuning in right now, in case if you missed certain parts of this conversation, we have been recording it via Zoom, so we will be posting that as well, so you can watch it again. I think there are some really good tips, and I want to personally watch it over again to really take in that information. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks again for tuning in. Typically, we finish this off with community announcements and sharing wins for the week. I think that's going to be a little bit difficult. I know ICAD doesn't have any super pertinent community announcements right now since Merge is shut down, but if any of the other organizers has anything that you would like to share, feel free to do that. Or we can just share it over our Facebook post. So we'll give you people a second in case if you have anything.
Iowa JPEG doesn't have anything. We are unfortunately having to cancel pretty much everything in the next few months due to university policy. If I do have anything, though, I will share it over social media.
And then we just got the question, what's the plan for next Wednesday? We are constantly evaluating what we're doing. I think we're going to try and continue this virtual 1 million cups every week if possible. If people have topics that they would like us to go over and discuss, feel free to email me or comment or message us on Facebook. We really want to be helpful to all of our entrepreneurs and community people right now. So if you have anything that you're trying to figure out, just please reach out to us. Otherwise, we'll try and come up with some topics that we think would be valuable. And then one more comment, I think everyone knows this, but Merge is also closed right now to the public. So we're not accepting any members or walk-in people, unfortunately, right now. So that's why I'm working from home like everyone else. All right, Ben, do you have any comments for the group since you're our 1MC Midwest chair? See you tuned in. Nope.
I'm not sure if, okay, I can speak. Nice. Well, nice job, everyone.
Thank you.
I'll start with that. This has been an interesting thing to watch. We went live first over in Columbus. They did a nice job. Had more of a smaller group sharing through Zoom and then on Facebook. You guys obviously rocked it. Through some technical challenges I could feel, but that is the name of the game, as you said, Liz. Thanks for hosting. I thought you did a nice job having the conversation flow smoothly. And then if you look up at Bismarck, North Dakota, they hosted a great experience as well. So I think we're going to see over the next couple of weeks how different communities stay connected with their communities through this virtual experience. I know I'm enjoying coffee, so hopefully everyone's feeling caffeinated by the conversation. And I know it's hard times, but I think together entrepreneurs are always looking to collaborate and work together to find a stronger future for each other and for ourselves. And this is just one more way we can stay in tune and keep folks energized while educating them on how folks are building their business, or in this case, supporting other businesses. So I suppose my closing thoughts are all around a cheers to Iowa City, to 1 million cups in Iowa. I know some folks from around the state have joined in, and throughout 1MC Midwest. So thanks for allowing me to say a few words. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, I think with that, we'll probably call it wrap it up today. If you have any wins for the week, I'd love to hear them on Twitter. Share your wins on Twitter with the 1 Million Cups community. And we will plan on doing this again next week. Once again, if you have any topic ideas, please let us know. And thanks for joining and thanks for being patient. I think now more than ever, we just need to find that kind of sense of community and support everyone. So we hope to do that with 1 Million Cups.